On this edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher.
He hooked a ball in the water on 18, making the turn. He hooked another tee shot into the water left of 7. And so I was talking with my producer, Jeff, and I was like, I'm going to get some golf balls. I'll throw them into the bank and try to get them to bounce up as high as possible. I'll throw one above the line, one inside the line, and we'll see if I can't mimic the bounce. And I was like, oh no, I've just proven the fact that Rory took a bad drop to make my wife mad. And funny, when I got the audition with Golf Channel, I had about a month before being in studio, and she looked at me and said, you have to grow your mustache back because it's going to become your brand. I ended up winning the Sony Open in 2012, but of the other 19 times I played that event, I missed the cut all but twice. And we started thinking like, hey, there's a direct flight on Delta right into Salt Lake City, and we could go skiing up at Deer Valley or Little Cottonwood Canyon, wherever we wanted. And I bought us 2 tickets to get to Salt Lake. We didn't have a place to stay. We get in, rent some gear. And as I'm coming out, Bryson's like pulling up in a cart with the U.S. Open trophy. And he's like, get back in there, hit one more. What'd you do? Skull the first one over the green? I said, yeah. He said, let me see you hit another one. So that's when I got in there, my mulligan, and hit it up there close. And Bryson was so cool with handing me the trophy, and he's been awesome for me.
The greatest sports moments happen in seconds, but the stories behind them are timeless. Dive into the mind of the icons who live those moments. No filters, just authentic conversations about the moments that define careers. I'm Justin Kutcher, and this is the Just in Time podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher, joined today by a 3-time PGA Tour winner. He might be the most entertaining golf broadcaster on TV and has, I would say, the most famous mustache since Tom Selleck. It's no one else, can't be anybody except for Johnson Wagner. Wags, thanks so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Kutch, it's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for having me on.
So for those of you who don't know, Johnson Wagner was my first golf analyst for Golf Channel when we were both in the tower, quote unquote tower, at the Punta Cana Championship in 2023. And dude, that was so much fun. I don't know about you, but when I got the call and I found out I was doing the event, I thought I was doing like featured groups. And Mark Loomis goes, no, you're in the tower. I'm like, 18th tower? He goes, yeah. I go, fuck yeah. And then I found that I'm working with you, and it was a blast, man.
That was such a great week. My birthday was that week. We had
Yep.
had some fun on the beach down there in the DR on that. I believe it was a Friday. But that was my first time being the lead analyst for the Golf Channel in the booth, and working with you, such a pro. I learned so much that week, and it was fun taking you out on the range and introducing you to some players. And man, it's amazing. That was just 2.5 years ago. It seems like it was yesterday.
I know. It is so crazy. And you mentioned what you did for me by taking me out on the range and introducing me to players. And that was my first chance, my first glimpse into what people thought about you and what they think about you, and the reaction by the players seeing you out there as a broadcaster. There's something about you, and I think everybody who watches you on TV now understands. But how were you able, and how are you able to relate and form those relationships with these guys over the years?
I think it was just always something from junior golf on. Like when I play with players, like of course I want to go beat them up, but score wise. But as far as developing relationships and having conversations, like golf can be a bit of a lonely game, especially when you travel the PGA Tour. So having a community of friends and being able to get along with caddies and players alike, and that way when you're traveling the tour for 15 years, you can walk up into any restaurant and see friends and have a dinner buddy.
It's funny because I was thinking about it, and you are so social, you're so affable, yet golf is a lonely sport. And it kind of goes against who you are as a person to be alone. So how do you cope when you're on the PGA Tour of not feeling lonely?
My brother caddied for me my first year on the Corn Ferry Tour, and then I've always had great caddies that if not necessarily staying together, but Matt Hauser, my longtime caddy of about 10 years, we would stay similar hotels or locations, and we'd eat dinner 3, 4 nights a week. And there's obviously those nights that you wanna just go grab Chipotle and go back to your room, but, the nights that you don't do that, you need to have people to be around you, because the road, as you know, it can be incredibly lonely, and that's what I love about television now, is that you sort of have this built-in family where you've got 4 or 5 people when you're on the road to be able to go have dinner and maybe a drink and call it a night and get up and go to work the next day.
I didn't realize your brother caddied for you your first year on the Corn Ferry Tour.
He did, he quit his job, he was working for Accenture.
Oh
I
my
was really
god.
struggling the first couple months, and he came out and caddied for me. We had minimal success, but then got right back through Q school again, and then he started working for Wachovia that next year, and he used to come out maybe once, maybe twice a year to caddy for me, usually on weeks that Hauser or whoever was caddying didn't want to work, like Opelika, Alabama for the Barbasol in the middle of July.
So I have a brother who I've caddied for one time last year, actually right there at the Amex. And I don't know if he and I would mesh for a full year. I think he would get too angry at me. Did you guys have any conflicts?
Yeah, we've had a lot of conflicts. And I would consider myself really great to caddies, never getting in too bad of a mood or yelling at them. But whenever my older brother would caddy for me, he just, if he did anything, I was fine letting him have it. And this one year, final stage of Q school, had a bad first round on the PGA West Stadium course, and second round we're playing the Nicholas Tournament course, and there's an island green par five, number
Mhm.
15, and I'd just gotten this new Sonar Tech 5 wood, and of course, put it immediately in the bag. And I've got a shot to go at this island green par five. I'm literally over the ball, and he's like, "Bro, bro, 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 I don't like this. I don't like this." So I slammed the 5 wood at his feet, and I said, "Well, what are we laying up with then?" And I almost hooked the layup 8 iron into the water and just rode him the whole way up there. But I would never do that to another caddy. But I did. I did. It did seem to come out with TJ.
Isn't it weird how that happens with like family, your loved ones, people you're so comfortable with, you'll snap at them. But like people you don't know as well, you're on your best behavior.
Well, and he I spent my whole life with him needling me, picking on me as a little brother, so I think I find myself in a spot where I'm the boss, that it's my one opportunity to give it back to him.
It was funny because I remember asking you at the Amex this past year because my brother told me, all right, just if I have my glasses on, my sunglasses on, make sure to tell me to take them off. And he was over a shot and he was in his routine and I noticed his glasses were on. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, Eric, glasses. And he's like, I'm fine. And I was like, was that wrong of me? And you told me, you said, if he gave you a job, you've got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get to it a little bit sooner than when
Yeah.
they're over the ball, but no, I don't think there's any players that like being backed off when they're over a shot, but, yeah, you did the right thing. He gave you that job, you gotta tell him to get those glasses off. That's what he said. That's what he said he needed from you.
It's crazy. You mentioned Matt Hauser. When we were in Punta Cana and we all start talking, Matt Hauser and I are from the same town, Fairfield, Connecticut. And as we're talking, I realized that I played baseball with his younger brother, Rory Hauser. So this is how small of a world it is. But you guys were together for 10 years? Dude,
10
that's
years.
that's rare. How did that, bond form over time to sustain itself over 10 years?
I had a great caddy before Matt. His name was Stephen Hale, Pepsi. We became super tight. And then it just, like most player caddy relationships, it sort of ran its course professionally. We're still great friends. And I remember picking Hauser up, and he said, "Let's do a 3 week trial." And after 2 weeks, I said to him, I said, I don't need another week of a trial. You're my man. I would love for you to caddy for me full time. And we just had similar interests, similar taste in music, similar taste in sports and fantasy football. And we both like to ski. He actually got me skiing for the first time since high school, because in college, our coach would never let us ski. And then I didn't, for my first bunch of years as a professional, just thought it would be tough to work. So when we're out there on the golf course for 6, 7 hours a day, 6, 7 hours a day, I don't know why I just said that. When you're out there with somebody that long, it's important to have lots to talk about. And we never had any moments in 10 years where we were struggling to have conversation, which was just incredible.
What did he say after 2 weeks when you were like, "Dude, I don't need a 3rd week. Let's do it."
He was all on board, and the second week was at Quail Hollow, the Wells Fargo
Mhm.
Truist Championship now, and it was the first time I'd made the cut in my hometown event, and then we finished 11th the next week at the Byron Nelson. I had really been struggling, so it was a no-brainer for me, and we just, like I said, the chemistry was there from day one. He was never afraid to speak his mind, which I respect. I would rather have a caddy uh, tell me what's happening, what they think's going on, as opposed to just worrying about keeping a job. And Hauser was never that way. He's going to speak his mind. He's not worried about holding down the job. If he gets fired, he gets fired for telling the truth.
I love it. I love it. I think back to seeing you guys interact and also seeing you with Pepsi, and it's gotta be weird to have a long relationship, it end, or even a short relationship and it end, but you're able to maintain this friendship with them. How does that dynamic work? How can you have somebody be your employer? Because that's basically what they are. They're working for you in a way. You're like the CEO and they're working for you. And yet afterwards, you stay friends.
I mean, I prefer to think of it more as a teammate. I mean, I think
Yeah.
caddies do a ton out there as opposed to the employer employee thing. But
Unless it's your
uh,
brother. And then you could say he's your employer.
exactly, that's exactly right. I feel like Pepsi and I, it took a couple of years to get back to the friendship that we had. It never took that long with me and Hauser. I was playing out of 126 to 150 status for a couple straight years, and he said, if you're back in that category again, I've got to try to find a different bag, and he did it, and I had no problem with it. I was a little upset because I think that I had some good years left, but he moved on to bigger and better things and had limited success with other players, so it's he's just one of my best friends in the world, and whether or not we were working together really made no impact.
What was the first place he took you skiing your first time since high school?
We went out for spring break to Crested Butte, Colorado, and it's one of my favorite places in the world now. He's got a good buddy from high school named Brad Willett from Fairfield as well, who lives out there. He sells like fly fishing real estate. And so we rented a house with Matt's family in the same neighborhood where Brad lives, right off the mountain. And God, it was one of the greatest weeks ever. Get back on skis for the first time, and um, have since been skiing 5 or 6 different trips with Hauser, and kind of all over the West.
You guys told me a story and you have to tell it here. You were in Hawaii and you ended up going from Hawaii and you went skiing instead. What exactly happened there?
Well, I ended up winning the Sony Open in 2012, but of
Mhm.
the other 19 times I played that event, I missed the cut all but twice. And so we were pretty used to missing the cut in Honolulu, and generally it turned into going out in Waikiki, watching football, just having a big weekend. And missed the cut early on a Friday, and we started thinking like, hey, there's a direct flight on Delta right into Salt Lake City, and we could go skiing up at Deer Valley or Little Cottonwood Canyon, wherever we wanted. And so I somehow had a ton of miles on Delta from decades earlier. And I bought us 2 tickets. I think it cost us $10 each to get to Salt Lake. We didn't have a place to stay. We get in, rent some gear um, at Deer Valley, and then on our second chairlift ran into friends of his from the Fort Worth area that offered us a couple couches at the house, and we just ended up having the greatest 3 days. Now, my wife Katie wasn't so happy with me. She because we ended up skiing Saturday, Sunday, showing up to Amex on Monday evening. We skied Monday as well, and she's like, "Well, if you were going to go skiing for 3 days, you should have just come home." And I was like, "It's a long way from Hawaii back to Charlotte."
I just, first of all, I love it. I love the fact that you guys go and do that. You're a PGA Tour player and you're sleeping on somebody's couch. And that's where people, I don't know if they realize, like, the professional athletes, they're just people. And no matter what, like for some reason sports keeps you young, but here you are, you're a winner on tour and you're like, dude, I'll sleep on the couch. I don't care.
Free place to stay in Deer Valley sounds better than $700 a night for the hotel down the street.
What did skiing do for you as far as your career? Like, because you said you were afraid to do it in college, and now here you are. You have to go out and earn your money on the PGA Tour. Did skiing kind of free up your mind at all?
I think so, and I think it's more as golfers. Like golf was my hobby. I loved playing golf. I love the sport so much, but when it was time to take my mind off of it, I didn't really have anything that I could look to. So once I got back into skiing, I subscribed to Powder Magazine. I'm now looking at
Mhm.
all the gear online, looking at trail maps. Where do I want to go again? And ooh, I'm going to plan a trip for my family on spring break with the kids and getting them into skiing. So I think it just gave me sort of an outlet to get my mind on something else.
All right, I can't help but ask this question because I'm looking at you right now. The mustache. When was the first time you actually grew it?
It was Thanksgiving of 2011, leading into the 2012 season. We were in Virginia with my wife's family for the whole week of Thanksgiving. I didn't shave. We get home and I take a shower and I shave everything off, but just a 1 week, just disgusting mustache, just to see if I could get a rise out of Katie, my wife. And I come downstairs after showering and she was like, absolutely not. You need to go shave that thing right now. And it just made me want to keep it so badly. So I kept it through December. Played this event with some other pros down at Calusa Pines in Naples, and George McNeil and Carl Peterson. They were like, "You have to show up to the Sony Open with a mustache." So that spurred me on, and I show up to Kapalua, finished ninth, and then I win the Sony in 2012 with still a pretty terrible mustache at this point. And it was just like, okay, this is staying. It's my good luck charm, and that was the first time. But it was basically to make my wife mad. And funny, when I got the audition with Golf Channel, I had about a month before being in studio, and she looked at me and said, "You have to grow your mustache back because it's going to become your brand." And so I haven't shaved it off. It's been almost 3 years now. This current version. So good
So
on her
wait,
for.
time out, time out. Before Golf Channel, you were clean shaven.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And
I
so,
off and on. I always had it off and on
right.
for about 10 years when I was playing. If I was playing poorly, I grew one. If I was playing uh, if I was playing poorly with it, I'd shave it off. So it was kind of a fluctuating thing. But then, yeah, I was clean shaven for about a year before Golf Channel, and she told me to grow it back.
Wow. Kudos to her. The
She's the best.
visionary.
I don't deserve her.
That's amazing because everybody, and she's so spot on. Whenever you mention Johnson Wagner, one of the first things that comes to everyone's mind is the mustache. And it's a good stash, dude. My dad, none of us, I'm one of four, have ever seen my dad without a mustache. And so he's talked about shaving it off. We're like, no, no, you cannot do that. And for you now, like, I mean, is there any coloring or is that all natural?
No, it's all
Dude,
natural.
that's
There's a bunch of
unbelievable.
I've got a bunch of gray in there, and Brendan DeYoung, our friend, he
Yeah.
likes to tell me that I obviously use just for men, but I clearly don't. I just have dark hair. But yeah, there's gray popping up. Occasionally, I'll trim the gray hairs back a little bit, but no, there's no color. But I'm thinking about after the Ryder Cup. I'm thinking about shaving it off and just giving
What?
myself maybe for 3 or 4 weeks before growing it back, just to have just a little bit of a break. I don't think I'm going to be on camera until December, and it would be nice to just kind of be clean shaven for a little bit.
So this is breaking news right now here on the Just in Time podcast that Johnson Wagner might be shaving the mustache post Ryder Cup, although will be back by the time he's back on camera.
More than likely. I don't know. I may mess around with it for a little bit and do something crazy. I've thought about having like a neck beard to go along with the mustache. I think that would be a good look. So
All right, let's go back to 2023 when you get the audition with Golf Channel. What were your hopes, your aspirations?
it was Golf Central. It was Houston Open week. I believe it was November of 22, and I didn't know what to expect. I had a good buddy that was a researcher or is a researcher. Kevin Ryan gave me a call and said my name had come up. Would I be interested? And I obviously jumped at it. My golf career was sort of ending. My knees were giving me issues, and I just wasn't competitive that 2022 season at all. And I guess I just wanted to know if I would like it that first week. and I was blown away with how much I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sitting in the studio and coming up with breakdowns with the whole, the producers, the researchers, the graphics. I just enjoyed the whole team aspect of it. And after that first week, the boss man, Matt Hegarty, said, "Hey, can you come back in 2 weeks and do the Grant Thornton?" And I was like, "I'll be back." And then that whole next year, when we started working together some in 2023, I felt like they started putting me in a broadcasting role, not just the studio side. And every week that they offered me a spot was either an opposite field event that I was going to get into and play, or when we went out and did the National Club Pro out in Albuquerque, it was the week of the Wells Fargo Championship where I think I was going to get a sponsor exemption. It was a signature event. Wyndham Clark won. And I think that I was going to make kind of that my last event I ever played. And I just fell in love with the TV side so quickly that it became really easy to sort of give up on the golf. But I guess I'm not really answering your question. I think it was just to see if I was going to like it as much as I thought I would, and I absolutely fell in love with TV.
We haven't even talked about your golf career, and we will, don't worry. But we're just already down this path, and it's crazy to me. I mean, here you are, a three-time PGA Tour winner, and yet everybody now knows you as Johnson Wagner, the TV guy, and for what you've done for the sport of golf, being yourself and reenacting shots from tournaments, from majors and whatever. All those things happened. What was the first clip? What was the first shot that you reenacted for TV?
It was so Players Championship in 24. I did some like course highlights on the night show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Live From, but the first shot was Thursday at the Players in 2024. And McIlroy that day, I don't know if you remember, started on the back nine and he hooked a ball in the water on 18. Making the turn, and he's playing with Spieth, and I can't remember who else. And it was like a little bit questionable where he dropped off that 18th tee, is water down the whole left side, and then finishing on number 7, he hooked another tee shot into the water left of 7, and it looked like Spieth and McIlroy were having words because McIlroy just went up, dropped, and hit it. And the PGA Tour live stream had this beautiful angle where his ball, you could see it bounce on the bank and go in. And so I was talking with my producer, Jeff Fabian, and I was like, I'm going to get some golf balls. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to throw them into the bank and try to get them to bounce up as high as possible. I'll throw one above the line, one inside the line, and we'll see if I can't mimic the bounce. So we had Steve Durstein, my camera guy, down set up right where the PGA Tour live angle was, and we had this completely dialed in. And I remember I threw a bunch in there. I was doing some long toss with my son just to make sure my shoulder was warmed up. I was taking this incredibly seriously. And I remember the first one I threw that was inside the hazard line popped straight up, and I was like, oh no, I've just proven the fact that Rory took a bad drop. And so I get in my car, I'm with my son driving back to the hotel in Jack's Beach, and I call my boss, Matt Hegarty, and I'm like, hey man, I feel like I messed up. I feel like I proved Rory took a bad drop. I'm so sorry. And he's like, Johnson, what are you talking about? He said, have you looked at social media? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, why don't you get back to your hotel, look at Instagram and Twitter, and give me a call back. And so I get back and I pull it up, and the Golf Channel had posted it, and it just people had loved like, what is this dumbass doing, just like throwing golf balls as hard as he can into the ground. So that it was that first one that was so memorable. And then the next night I hit a shot of Rory's on 7 out of the right trees where he basically like skipped it through a bunker over water onto the green, and I didn't shank it, but I completely blocked it right into the tree next to me. And I think it just kind of took off from there, that this was going to be something that was going to be really fun. And if I executed the shots, it was going to be good. But if I hit bad shots, it's almost better. And it was that first week that it really, like, it materialized quickly.
So then go to the US Open that year at Pinehurst, because that's got to be one of the best shots you've ever hit in your life. When you reenacted the shot by Bryson DeChambeau in the bunker on 18, that was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. In the PGA at Valhalla, just before that, I had had the chipping yips, and I had sculled a couple chips and chunked a couple and actually shanked a couple. So it was leading in to the US Open. Like, I couldn't believe when I was in my cart driving around Pinehurst, there were so many people like, "Oh, Wagner, loved watching you shank those chips at Valhalla." And but get to that Bryson shot Sunday. It had been such a great week at Pinehurst. I love that golf course so much, and being able to go out there and highlight cool features of it the whole week was really neat. And um, the first one, I sculled over the green, and then I'm getting ready to come out of the bunker and walk up to the green and talk about Rory's putt that he missed. And as I'm coming out, Bryson's like pulling up in a cart with the US Open trophy. And he's like, "Get back in there, hit one more. What'd you do? Skull the first one over the green?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Let me see you hit another one." So that's when I got in there, my mulligan, and hit it up there close. And Bryson was so cool with handing me the trophy, and just like Bryson has really got it figured out, and
Mhm.
I think he's been awesome for me. I think a lot of people question whether or not his shtick is authentic, but it doesn't matter. He's got the fans on his side. He's won me over that I'll do stuff with him anytime, and I just think he's been really good for the game the last couple of years, and how he's sort of transitioned what people think about him has been remarkable.
Yeah, it really has. As a matter of fact, you mentioned the Wells Fargo, now the Truist. It was at the PGA Championship this year at Quail Hollow, where I was walking with someone from the first tee of Charlotte, and they told me that Bryson was there to speak, and there were all these sponsors, and he's like, "I know you guys are here, but right now I'm going to go talk with the kids." And he just went into a room, and he just spent like a couple of hours answering questions from the kids. And one kid asked him a question about, like, "You seem like you're a different person. Why?" And he's like, I think I've grown up. I used to think I had all the answers, and I think I've grown up, and I realized I don't. And you have to admit some mistakes when you have them. And when he won the U.S. Open that year, and you hit the shot, and you're like, "Can I hold the trophy?" And he gave it to you. That seemed like such a genuine moment. It was so fun to watch. I couldn't help but smile and crack up.
And I once we got off camera, I said, "Hey, are you guys having beers in the locker room? Can I come hang out back there with you?" So I got to go hang out and drink some beers with him and his whole team, watch the trophy get engraved in the locker room. It was a really special night. And then Pinehurst Resort asked me to play the next day with Tom Pashley, Eric Kuster, and got to play the next day at 11 o'clock with the dudes from Pinehurst. So it was an incredible week, and very fortunate.
Again, we haven't even talked about your golf career, but we have to jump ahead and talk about what you did this year, reenacting Tiger's, 2000 season, the shots that he hit. But not so much the shots. I want you to tell people where you got to play and what you got to do on that tour.
Yeah, so we flew out there. I flew out there with my field producer Andrew Bradley out to Pebble Beach. We were going to do a couple shots from Pebble Beach. Was our starting on Thursday. We did all of them live Thursday through Sunday. We flew out Tuesday night because I was able to finagle us a tee time at Cypress Point on Wednesday
Oh,
morning. So that was a great way to kick off the trip. And then we did our stuff Friday at Pebble, took the red eye to Charlotte, and then up to Toronto, where we did the Glen Abbey stuff out of the bunker. Didn't play that day; we were a little cooked. And then the next day we drove down to Firestone, and we played Firestone that day. Did our shot in the dark there on the 18th hole, and then the next morning got up and drove to Valhalla to Louisville. Had met a couple members at the PGA last year, so they invited us to play before we reenacted our shots there. So it was a nice little run. Cypress, Firestone, Valhalla. It was a good few days.
that's not too shabby. What was the most difficult shot that he hit that you had to try to reenact?
The shot out of the bunker at Glen Abbey was brutal, and he had hit a 6 iron. It was downwind when he hit it, and it was cold and right back into the wind when I was hitting. So I hit a 3 iron. And I was able to get it on the green about 30 feet away, but that's a shot that you just don't take on unless you're superhuman like Tiger was back then. My caddy never would let me hit that shot in a tournament. like tournament on the line, because if you don't pull it off, you're dropping
Right.
about 150 yards back, and you could make double pretty easily. So it probably would have been a layup out to the left, a wedge, but yeah, it was a good trip.
Let's talk about a trip that you took. You grew up in the upstate New York, and you decided to go to college in Blacksburg, Virginia at Vatech. Why?
Well, I'm from Texas originally, and
Mhm.
went through middle school in Nashville, Tennessee. So I claim a lot of different places as home. It depends on where I am. If I'm in New York, I definitely claim New York. But my brother was in school at Washington and Lee, which is in Lexington. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes north of Blacksburg. And I'd played in the Scott Robertson Jr., which was in Roanoke, Virginia, real close to Blacksburg. And that's where I met the coach, Jay Hardwick. And he was the only, it's hard to call Virginia Tech big time D1. We were Atlantic 10 at that time. But it was the only big time D1 school that wanted me to come play golf. And it was close to my brother. And I remember thinking, I watched a Virginia Tech game earlier that year. I was like, God, those colors are awful. Maroon and orange. And now I've got so much maroon and orange in my closet. And I just think the colors are so beautiful together. So it's funny how your perspective can change, but it was a great spot to go, and loved every minute of it. Now my son, who's a good little junior golfer, he's 16, he's a junior, and he's kind of being recruited by Virginia Tech, and he says it's where he wants to go. So it would be pretty sweet to have him bring the program back.
So this is your son, Graham, also known as Veal Tip?
Well, that's what we do. That's what we do on Instagram. If
Yeah.
Brendan DeYoung and I, we have beef tips that if we do something, but if Graham does a tip, it's a veal tip just because he's young,
I love it.
like a nice,
Like,
yeah.
so we mentioned Brendan, Wagyu and Filet show that you guys have together, and your relationship began in Blacksburg, back in Virginia. How did that relationship start, and now take off to where it is today, where both you guys are in Charlotte?
Yeah. So it was freshman year. Freshman year, he wasn't there. We weren't very good, and coach was like, "Guys, I just recruited this kid from Zimbabwe. He's going to be on the team next year." And we were like, Zimbabwe, Africa, really? That'll be interesting. And so Brendan gets to school, and he had a roommate in the dorm his freshman year, my sophomore year. His name was Matt Hollerback, and he was from Oklahoma. And they were kind of always together the first couple of weeks of school, so we didn't. We just kind of were just trying to get to know both of them. And finally, we get Brendan out at the first event of the year, and we had noticed that like he really had just horrible body odor. And so once we get him away from Matt, we were like, "Hey, Brendan, here in the United States, we wear deodorant and we shower." And Brendan was like, "Fuck you, man." He's like, "I shower twice a day. That's not me. That's my roommate, Matt. He's the one that stinks." And so we all, like all of us on the team, just, that was the moment where I fell in love with him, and where we all just were like, this is the greatest dude ever. And so then he basically lived on our couch all the rest of his freshman year. So he didn't have to share a room with a stinky guy.
And you guys could validate that he does shower multiple times a day, and it does wear deodorant.
Exactly. He smells great, actually.
When you guys are both on tour, how many practice rounds would you play with each other?
All the time. I mean, I got out onto the Corn Ferry Tour a year before him, but then we played 3 straight years out there together after that. We would play every week, and then both graduated to the PGA Tour at the same time. We used to play practice rounds all the time. There was a stretch, maybe 2011 through 2013 or 14, where we didn't play much golf together. I think Brendan was jealous I was winning golf tournaments and he wasn't, and he just wanted to get away from me. But we like to joke about it now.
You ever play with his old caddy, Bruce?
Oh, Bruce McDonald. Yes. Bruce is probably the best long iron player I have ever played with in my life. Just could hit a 3-iron to the moon. I played with him in final round of second stage of Q school when he just sort of imploded on the 8th hole, and then again on 18 to miss getting to final stage by 1, which I think really defined his career, unfortunately. But yeah, Bruce is a great man, great player.
He can absolutely stripe it. He'd be out. I'd see him at TPC Piper Glen. He'd shoot like 63, 64, like not even trying. And I was like, oh my God, that was the first time when I realized how good a PGA Tour player is. That it's not just what they can do physically, but the mental part of it, and how the mental part is such a huge aspect of the game.
And I think had things gone just a little bit differently for him that one day on this one hole where he made an 8 on a par 3, number 8, I think had things gone differently, Bruce may still be playing the PGA Tour right now. And just how fragile and how delicate the mind is, it was such a shame because I don't know that I've seen people more naturally gifted than Bruce McDonald.
Yeah, it's wild to think that. Who's a player maybe that you saw on the tour where you were like, how are they doing this? Like, how is this happening?
I mean, Peter Malnati, I would say would be one, and I love Peter, two-time
Yeah,
winner. He's one of the best guys I've ever played with. You look at his raw athletic talent, and I mean, he works his tail off. He's works out. He's in great shape. His mind. We always joke he leads the tour in uh, strokes gained attitude,
yeah.
and that's how he's done it. Was with a great attitude and a great work ethic. But his swing doesn't jump out of the jump off the page. His stats never jump off the page, and he's a two-time winner on the PGA Tour. I'd say he's sort of surprises me that way.
Let's go back to 2008, the Shell Houston Open. How difficult is it to close out that first win?
I was in the final group there in '07 with Bubba Watson, and we watched Adam Scott make a putt on 18 to win. And I love that golf course so much. I think my love affair with the Houston Golf Association, who used to run that event, started the Korn Ferry Tour Championship the year before in '06. It was at the Houstonian Golf Club, and I just felt so comfortable with that whole organization. The locker room, everything was just so well done. And it was the week before the Masters. And
Mhm.
so in '08, I start off, I shot the course record at one point the year before, 64, and teeing off late on a Thursday in '08, teeing off 10, walking down the fairway, leaderboard pops up. Adam Scott, defending champion, shoots 63, breaks my course record. And I was like, oh man, it's my only course record I have, and now it's gone. And Pepsi looks at me and he's like, well, let's go get it back today. And I go out and shoot 63 and
Get
tie
out.
Adam Scott. Adam Scott then withdraws the next day. I don't know what happened injury wise, but he had a WD. And so I kept the lead and had the lead all week. And it was Saturday night. Katie and I were traveling in a motorhome, and I was not in the Masters. And she was out with our dog, and she came back in, and I'm laying on the couch watching Masters highlights. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? You need to keep your mind in the right spot. You can't be watching Masters highlights, like knowing that if I won, I was going to get
Right.
in. And so that was a funny moment. And then that whole Sunday was just like your stomach, you just don't, you can't eat. You got to force water down. Fortunately, my game was in really good shape, and I got off to a great start and made some birdies playing with one of the greatest human beings of all time, Chad Campbell, that Sunday. And coming down 18, I had a 2-stroke lead and just kind of hit it way right, laid it up short right of the green, chipped it up there close, and made a 4-footer to win. And it was like, it was the greatest feeling of all time. Like just this euphoria. I walk off the green and my agent's there and he's like, hey, sign your card, do your media obligations, and got a driver to drive your bus to Augusta, and got a private plane for you, me, Katie, and Pepsi we're going to be on the road in an hour. We'll be in the air, and we'll be in Augusta tonight. And I was like, oh my God. So that was a pretty cool little day and a half.
Did it ever cross your mind while you were playing that final round about winning and going to Augusta, or was that out of your mind?
I was pretty good about it. I thought about it a couple times, like, oh my God, if I win, how are we going to get it's like a 2-day drive from Houston to Augusta. Like we've got our dog. What's gonna happen here? And, but I think I was able to get it out of my mind quickly. There's this sports psychology sort of thing that your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. So if I used to do these sort of drills, if you find your mind wandering, which it's going to, don't beat yourself up, just stop it and focus on something else, and then those thoughts will be out of your mind. So I think I was really good at not thinking about it, or at least if I did think about it, I didn't just let it fester for a hole or 2 holes, because that's can't do that.
So the Johnson Wagner that I know, if you win a tournament, you're going to have some celebratory beverages.
Yes.
You're on a private plane, but you're going to Augusta. So are you having some beverages or are you trying to behave because you want to take everything in at Augusta?
Oh no, we had plenty of beverages. Uh, got my agent had a big house, so but until my bus got there, we stayed there for 2 nights at this house. And that Sunday night, we stayed up until 2, 3 in the morning, and I was on the tee playing with my good buddy Brant Snedeker Monday morning at 9 a.m. and felt great. I don't, it's the weirdest. It's the when you win a golf tournament, you have a few beers. There's no hangover. I think the just adrenaline rush that you have powers you through. And I had a great week that week. Made the cut. My goal was to make some eagles and get some Augusta Crystal, which I didn't do, but I went at every par five I could just to try. And
Wait,
yeah, it's the
time
only
out.
time I made.
Was that your approach to go at every par
Yeah,
five and two?
I wanted. Anytime you make an eagle at Augusta, you
Right.
get some sort of crystal. So I definitely, that was my goal for the week, and I failed, but got to play 4 rounds. Play with Justin Rose on Sunday. It was a great week.
So when you went into the entire tournament, you said to Pepsi, "We're going for every par five and two."
I mean, as long as it was within
Right.
reason. I definitely, on 15 on Sunday, was what kind of where Rory was, blocked out
Yep.
behind the trees, but it was a 3 wood, and I hit the most beautiful high hooking 3 wood that stayed on the green. It was my last chance. Had about 30 feet for eagle and didn't make it, but yeah, as long as it was within reason. I mean, I wasn't winning. I think that was more of the weekend mindset. I mean,
Okay.
I barely made the cut and was clearly not going to win the golf tournament. But yeah,
So what was it like that Monday morning teeing it up with Sneds, your good buddy, at Augusta?
it was like a lifelong dream come true to be able to compete in the Masters, a tournament I'd watched since I was a kid. I mean, I think my first real memory of watching the Masters was probably 91, 92 for sure with Freddie when I was 11 or 12 years old. And then I watched it every year, every shot. It was televised. I would be watching the Masters. So it was, it was amazing to be there.
After you win that first one and you go to Augusta, you mentioned how you won in Hawaii. You said you missed the cut almost every time you played there. So how do you go from a course that you're missing the cut almost every time to winning?
Well, I had the mustache, so I had a superpower. I had the benefit of playing Kapalua the week before, and I that whole off season I had started working out really for the first time in my career. I felt fit. I felt strong. I'd been down to Florida to see my coach Bobby Hines like 4 times that December, and I was just sharp and I was ready to go. I knew I was going to win one of the events in Hawaii, and I get out on the back nine on Thursday at the Sony Open, and I shoot 5 under on the back nine. And I'm walking down the first fairway, just like, yeah, I'd like to thank the sponsors, the fans, my coach Bobby Hines for such a great off season. My wife Katie, obviously, and then I proceeded to shoot 3 over on my back nine to shoot 2 under, and it was the greatest wake up call of all time. Like golf is so good when you think it's easy, it has a way of just punching you in the mouth, and it did, and it focused me the rest of that week, and I ended up, being in the second to last group Saturday and just playing with Charles Howell, who I dominated. Anytime we played together on a Sunday, I just worked him, which was like twice, but, uh, and, and, yeah, it was a great day. I remember, Hauser and I were flying you leave Sony and you've got to take a red eye directly to LA or wherever for the Amex, because you got 3 courses to get ready for back then. And so we had a few celebratory drinks up in first class on that red eye, and God, what a great week. That was if you had told me at that point that was going to be my last win, I would have said you were crazy. I was just so fresh. I finished second the next week at the Amex. I was just playing the best golf of my life, and shocking I could never cross that finish line again.
It just goes to show you how difficult it is to get a win, let alone 3 wins like you had in your career. I mean, that's what I don't know if people understand. We saw it this past year. I mean, Cameron Young could not get over the hump, could not get over the hump. Tommy Fleetwood could not get over the hump, finally broke through. I mean, they broke through in big ways, but it is so hard. Like you just said, you never thought that'd be your last win.
Yeah, it's I mean, form is fickle. It can go away from you in a heartbeat, and I think it's just like you look at a guy like Patrick Rogers. How's Patrick Rogers not won yet on the PGA Tour? And I think Cam Young's gonna explode and take off and win a ton of golf. I think I mean, he's only his third year on the PGA Tour. 22, fourth year. So I mean, it took him a little longer than you would have expected, but yeah, it's the talent depth is unbelievable right now, and it's just getting harder and harder to get on the PGA Tour, much less win. Maybe it's getting a little easier to win since these signature events only have like 73 players in them, but there's 73 of the best players in the world. So I don't think it's ever going to be considered easy.
What's it like for you now doing your show on a weekly basis with Brendan?
We have so much fun. I mean, it's just like this. It's on SiriusXM radio, but
Mhm.
we're zooming so we can see each other's faces and reactions, and we each take jabs at each other whenever we can. With Brendan, it was most recently about the Tour Championship. He's like Johnson, I know you never made it to Eastlake, but talk to me about this golf course. And with him, anytime it's like Kapalua week, I'm like, Brendan, I know you don't know a thing about this golf course at Kapalua because you had to win to get in that event, but we we have so much fun, and I just anything I can do to work with him is great, and hopefully we'll get some opportunities to do some other stuff going forward.
Yeah, it's, for those people who don't realize it, we did a tournament together in Truckee, California back in 2023. And we flew out and we go to play golf that first day we get out there. And I told you that I was thinking about doing a podcast. You're like, what do you want to call it? And I had some names and you're like, I'll do it with you. Like, I'll be a guest. And so here you are now as a guest. However, you guys beat me to it. You and Brendan started your podcast. I was like, damn, look at Johnson go. So you gave me the motivation.
Yeah, Gary Williams with 5 clubs now
Uh-huh.
on Golf Channel and radio. He really gave Brendan and I a great opportunity to sort of have no real financial downside to go in and do our podcast through his platform, and then this radio opportunity came up, and we just like the radio show is wildly fun, especially after a major and you get people calling in and asking questions. And there's this one guy that called in about Ryder Cup, wanted Phil Mickelson on, and I was like, I'm sorry. I said, do you know the term there's no such thing as a bad question? Well, that was a horrible question. Phil Mickelson is 55 years old. He's done nothing to deserve to be on that team at Bethpage right now. All right, thanks for your call. But it's just really it's really fun working with a friend like Brendan.
Yeah, it makes it so it's not work. And
Right.
that's the beauty of it. And for you now, doing everything you're doing in the golf space, you said before that you have people like yelling at you as you're driving that golf cart around tournaments, like, hey, Wags, I love what you did last week. Like, did you ever think it could get to this point where you'd be more famous for doing TV than playing golf?
Yes, it was kind of my goal. At the President's Cup in 22 here at Quail Hollow, I went to a dinner and Ian Baker Finch was there. And at that point, I had already had something lined up where I was going to start doing PGA Tour Live that
Wow.
next year. Golf Channel thing hadn't happened. And as I started thinking about my TV career, I was talking with Ian, who I've always loved that man. And I made it a goal to me, like, I, I know Ian won the Open Championship, but to this era of golfer and fan, Ian Baker Finch is way more famous for his work in television, especially with CBS, than he was for his playing career. So I kind of made it a goal of mine that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be great in some way. Now, where it's gone and as quickly as it's gone with where Golf Channel's put me in this spot at Live From, like it's not even, it's like I'm 1,000 times more famous now that I don't even think people know that I played golf, and they know who I am. So it's been really funny, but also so many people coming up asking for pictures and autographs, and I think when I played, I was good at stopping and signing everything most of the time. But my goal, I think I took it for granted, and now my goal is to like truly appreciate like these people, like there's excited to see me and talk to me. So I'm trying to be the best version of myself when I'm around the,
Mhm.
driving around a major, because I'm outside the ropes most of the time. And, you know, players just can be, we could be so selfish when it came to that. So I'm trying to be more selfless in this sort of avenue.
What's been the players' response to you and doing what you're doing?
It's been funny. There's a couple guys like Sam Burns. It was at the Open Championship at Troon last year. I had walked up to talk to Scotty Scheffler during the Monday practice round just to say, "Hey, I've tried to stay away from you, but I would love to do a walk and talk at some point uh, this week if possible." And Scotty's like, "No, no, no, I don't do those things." And I was like, "Well, it would be on a Tuesday or Wednesday during the practice round." He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I can do that." And as I'm walking away, Sam Burns is like, "Hey, Johnson, I don't even have to. I don't even have to play a practice round. I can just watch you chip around these golf courses, and I know exactly where not to hit it." And I was like, "Oh, snap!" Xander live on air at a U.S. Open walk and talk last year. I was asking him if he changes his style of chipping off of tight Bermuda fairways, and I said something to the effect of, a lot of guys like, I like to raise my hands up a little bit to stand the shaft more vertically. And he's like, "Oh yeah, we all love watching you chip around here," or something like that. So they're definitely taking shots, but it's been well received, and I think I've been good. I haven't called too many people out in a bad way where I would ruin a relationship. But at the same time, when you're an analyst,
Mhm.
you're paid for your opinion, and my goal would be that if I said anything that made a player mad, that at least that they would realize that it was uh, I said the right thing. They may just not have liked what I said.
It's one thing that I've had in my career, and maybe this could help you, maybe it won't, but I've always thought if I said something that might be controversial for a player, they might not be happy with me, that I would go the next day to practice. This way they know that I was there. If they have an issue, just come and talk to me. And so for you, if you say something, you could be on the range and you could be near them. And if they have an issue, they can come and talk to you. And it's just one of those things like, hey, it's not personal. I had to say what I had to say. And if you have a problem with it, let's just hash it out right now.
Couldn't agree more, and I think that's a great way to handle it, and I will do that more often going forward for sure.
What's the best part of your job now?
The getting to work with the people I get to work with. I've been off since the Tour Championship, and I was doing Golf Central Roadshow with Brandel and Rich Lerner and Jeff Fabian, the producer, and all our research team and everybody. But like the amount of fun we have in that trailer, just absolutely shooting the bull and just having so much fun watching golf and hanging out. Like it's the off air times that are more rewarding and more fun for me. It's just, as I've always worked in golf. I caddied growing up. I obviously played, and now being in TV, I've never had a team like gotten to be a part of a team like this with this many people, and it's just so fun. And that's hands down my favorite part.
And I think if you were to speak with any of those guys you just mentioned, they would say that you have brought a new dynamic to the show, to the team. And it's almost like given the show new life, where I'm not going to lie, your segments are like must watch TV because you just don't know what's going to happen. And it's not because like you're good or you're bad. I don't think people realize that you don't have a chance to warm up and you have to go hit these shots. These guys are in the middle of their rounds and they have to hit that.
Yeah, it's that is the hardest thing, is that they're not gonna let me go to the range, not nor would I ever ask. I'm not gonna hit any practice shots on a major championship venue out there. I feel fortunate enough that they let me do what I'm doing, sometimes taking divots and not wanting them to be in the course of play. Uh, so yeah, I crack my back, I do some jumping jacks. I mean, but the first time making contact with the golf ball is live on air, and it's very it's it's hard. I'm not setting myself up for much success, and producers begging me to go find a place to hit balls and loosen up. But even if I go loosen up, I get out there. I'm out there an hour, at least an hour before we go live, and like there's just no way to do it. There's no way to prepare yourself.
The reactions on set are so good. I don't know if you go back and you watch it, but it's it just what's happening on set, Wags, is happening all across the country. Everyone just laughs, and you bring joy to so many people. I don't know if you realize how much that means. That you're giving people a chance to just enjoy this game, enjoy the show, and make it feel, wow, like if I just hit that shot the other day playing golf, maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe other people do it. This is great.
It has been, I hear it from people out there, and it's been such an honor to have the reaction be the way it is. How the argument of, oh, if I was out there, I could hit that shot better than Scotty Scheffler just did. Well, let me show you. You probably are not going to. That's my
Yeah.
favorite thing when I do hit a good shot. I'm like, the shot wasn't that hard, but that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, the people's reaction to how much they're always, they're like, thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm like, thank me, thank you. You just made my day that you like enjoy it. So I have so much I have so much gratitude for the position I've been put in.
You talked about your son before, Graham, and how, your old school is looking at him. You've had a chance to bring Graham on the road for some of these stops. And I think you brought him this past year to the Open Championship, and you guys did a whole tour. Well, what's it like being able to share this experience now with your son?
It's incredible, and he loves the game so much. He's come with me to the Open both the last 2 years, and we've played in Scotland for like a week before last year, Ireland a week before this year. He's been to the U.S. Open for a couple days each of the last 2 years, the Masters for a day, and he came up to he was at every major and the PGA last year, or every major and the Players last year. This year, the only one he's missed was he didn't come to the Players Championship. So not that he's there the whole time like he is for the U.S. Open, or I mean the Open Championship, but it's been great having him inside the ropes when I'm doing walk and talks with players, having him out there behind the camera, like laughing at me at the Open Championship this year. I think it was Wednesday. It was on the par 3 16th. Maybe it was Tuesday. I physically sculled a golf ball into a crowded
Yes.
grandstand. Like Spieth and Wyndham Clark had just come through, and like the grandstand was emptying, but there was a lot of people in there, and I sculled it, and thank goodness didn't kill anybody. And it flew in there rattling. People are screaming. And as I'm coming up, I looked over at my son's face, and I've never seen him smile and laugh as big as he was there. And that lasted that whole night. Like we're driving back in, and I'm just like, ugh, so upset about the shot. And Graham is just still just grinning ear to ear. So it's those little moments. Plus, getting to compete against him on the golf course. His handicap's lower than mine, but I clip him most of the time still. I think he's beaten me like 10 times, and it's it hurts every time. But it
I
all
was So the first time he beats you, are you proud of him, or are you just like, oh?
Yeah, I'm proud of him. I'm definitely proud of him, but also I'm not one of those parents that's ever going to let their kid
Mhm.
win anything. I'm going to make it as hard as I can. But yeah, that first time I was playing with my brother and his son as well, and they were all they were all rooting for for Graham.
Yep.
So to see the joy and watch him make a putt to beat me for the first time was pretty sweet.
Now, was that match play or was it stroke play?
Stroke play, and it's got to be from the same tee box. Now, I mean, he hits it 40 yards by me now, so I may have to start moving up a tee, but it's God, it's so fun. In Ireland, he only clipped me once in 4 rounds at Ireland this year. Last year in Scotland, I think he beat me 4 of the 8.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, I definitely had the British Isles championship this year.
Wow, look at that. That's awesome. All right, Wags. This is how I like to end all my podcasts, with a segment called This Just In. Rapid fire questions, and we might, go a little long on some of them. But your favorite golf course on tour?
That hosts a tour event. I'm going to leave Quail Hollow out because it's my home course, and say Spyglass Hill.
Favorite golf course you've ever played?
Chicago Golf Club.
Ooh.
I'm a big CB McDonald, Seth Rayner guy. I just absolutely love Chicago Golf Club.
Your oh shit moment. I'm actually on the PGA Tour.
I think it was my first event, Sony Open in '07. Ernie Els was on the range, like 3 spots down from me on a Tuesday practice round. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on the tee box with Ernie Els right now. It was mind blowing. Also, later that year at Riviera, like Tiger's locker was always near mine, just because last name W. And
Mhm.
so the first time I saw him walk into the locker room was shocking.
Did you say anything? Most nervous tee shot you've ever had to hit?
Ooh. Currently, anytime I'm playing in a pro-am, as bad as my golf swing is right now, but on course was Augusta Friday, shockingly, of my first Masters in 2008. I hit driver so far right. It was over by the old press building, and I'd hit a provisional off the tee. And this guy that wears a yellow hat, he's like a spotter on the tee box. As I'm walking off after hitting my second ball, he said, I've been working at Augusta for 35 years. I've never seen anybody hit a provisional ball off of number one. And I was like, oh, thank you. I made triple.
Way to settle things in. You mentioned earlier when we did Punta Cana, it was your birthday, and your birthday was actually on that Thursday. And the reason I remember this is because I said to you, I was like, dude, happy birthday. What do you say we celebrate on Friday? Because we had got a later call time Saturday. And you're like, I like that idea. Well, the rest of the crew didn't like that idea. They rented out like this area for us to go on the beach, and Billy Ray was there. It was a day. And as a matter of fact, we go back towards the hotel. Eric Van Royen had the mustache like you did. He had his shirt off because he was by the pool. So you took your shirt off and took a picture with him. Your favorite bar on tour?
Do you remember me belly flopping into the hot tub as well that night?
Yes. Not once, but twice.
My favorite bar on the PGA Tour is Bad Boys in Moline, Illinois. It's caddy bar. Used to stay right across the street. Would go meet for a beer with Hauser, Joe Etter, a couple other caddies. And then we'd probably go walk to this place called Lemongrass, which is one of the greatest restaurants on tour. And then we'd walk back and
Is
have
that
a
a
couple
Thai
more
restaurant?
beers. Thai restaurant. Yep.
Mm.
Love Bad Boys. I wouldn't say that I was a real frequenter of bars. I like hotel bars
Okay.
is my
Yep.
favorite bar.
The one player on tour when you were playing and also right now that can go drink for drink with you.
I mean, Brendan DeYoung has made me regret my life so many different times. I can't go drink for drink with him. It always ends badly for me when that happens. 100% Brendan. Yeah. There's not even a close second.
Was it that way in college too?
Yes, we used to on Fridays and Saturdays, occasionally before either of us had girlfriends, we'd sit in the kitchen of our house and he would have a bottle of Aristocrat vodka. I would have a bottle of Mr. Boston rum, just the cheapest booze you can find. And we would sit there and we'd drink the bottle a piece and then we'd go out. And
Oh my
I would,
God.
yeah, we were heathens. We tried to do it our senior year. We tried to do it one time just for old time's sake, and we didn't make it out of the house. We had, he was dating his wife, Mary. I was dating my wife, Katie, and we were much more mature at that point.
Oh,
and
yes.
it ended poorly.
Unreal. All right. I guess I'll have to end with this since we're on the drinking theme. The most hungover round you've had to play, not on tour, because I know you're not doing that, but just you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm out here.
I'll give you a story from the tour life. It was Hauser's 40th birthday. It was Sunday of the Barracuda when we used to play at Montreux. And I never did this. And I was in sort of the hunt of a top 10. And I had this trainer named Victor Trasoff Jilg. And if he's listening to this, he knows he's annoying. And we were staying at this casino, El Dorado in Reno. And I went down to play just a little blackjack before going to bed, had a late tea time. And he was down there just like talking. So I just started drinking beers just to kind of numb him. I got on a heater at the table, end up going to bed, and I wake up the next morning. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Now I've got to walk the hardest walk on the PGA Tour. It's hot. It's Hauser's birthday. We were going to blow it out on Sunday, celebrating his 40th. And I get to the driving range and I'm talking to Hauser, and Hauser's so mad at me. He's like, what are you doing? You're like, this is ridiculous. And Colt Knost overhears this, and Colt comes over and he's like, "Hey, Johnson, here you're not feeling great today. Can I give you a piece of advice?" And I said, I would love a piece of advice. And he said, "Whatever you do, do not sit down today. Because if you sit down, it's over." And so played that whole round, played great, eagled the last, ended up making a bunch of points, Stableford system, finishing eighth. It's a great birthday present to Hauser to have a good round. And seriously, I went up to change my shoes in the locker room. I sat down and I could barely stand when I got up. Colt gave me the best advice of all time. And I owe him for that one. And he and I talk about it all the time, but it was that was the day I least looked forward to playing was that day.
Oh, I lied to you. I have to ask you about this story. It wouldn't be fair for all of our viewers and listeners not to hear this, especially with the Ryder Cup coming up. You mentioned the President's Cup at Quail Hollow a few years ago. You told me a story about Davis Love when he was the captain and how you were trying to make your pitch to be, an assistant captain. What exactly happened with that experience?
So I actually just told this story in front of Davis at this Wednesday offsite pro-am at the Tour Championship, and I was so good to see. I haven't seen him since I've really started sharing this story. Uh, so he's named President's Cup captain at Quail Hollow with my home course. I know it so well. I decided next time I saw him, I was going to have to say, "Hey, Davis, I whatever." So fast forward, it was like 4 months later. It's the Seminole member pro, and we're playing a practice round together. When we get back to the ninth tee, it's way back there. The amateur tee is so far forward. It's just the two of us. And I talked to my buddy who I'm playing with. I was like, I'm going to talk to him on nine. So I'm like, Davis, we had 5 minutes by ourselves. I'm like, Davis, hey, uh, I'm so happy you're the captain. We've got a relationship. I really want to be a part of the team. I'll do anything. I'll do whatever you want, whatever it takes. And we hit our tee shots and he's thinking about it and we're walking off. He's like, there's players like Bubba Watson and Patrick Reed that have these real specific snack needs. And, we always need somebody to run out snacks to these guys. And I was like, I know I said I'd do anything, but you really want me to be Bubba Watson and Patrick Reed's snack pitch? I was like, be more offensive. Like, come on, man. And so I didn't talk to Davis the rest of that day. I hadn't said a word to him in years. And so we go to the Quail Hollow President's Cup, and I'm sitting on the seventh green, right on the rope line, having a great week. And Webb Simpson, who's a member and a friend,
Mm-hmm.
he drives up and sees me and my son and nephew and comes over with two President's Cup team towels, gives them to Graham and my nephew Tilford. And I was like, "Hey, Webb, how's it going? How's it being a captain? Has it been awesome?" He's like, "Well, to tell you the truth, all I'm really doing is driving around handing out snacks to everybody." And so I was like, "Oh man, that could have been me." Had it, and so Davis, when I told this at this pro-am with him recently, he loved it. He laughed. He remembered the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, I guess had I accepted that role, Webb's now an assistant captain on the Ryder Cup. Maybe I could have had a job on this Ryder Cup team. Like, I really ruined my chances, and I'm upset by it.
It's what I always used to tell people. What my approach was: just say yes. Just say yes and see what happens. Say yes. The one time you say no, you could have been someone's snack bitch.
I know. I guess I think he threw out two names of guys that I didn't particularly care for, and that would have just been like really gutting. I mean, neither of them were on the team. I don't know why I thought they would be, but yeah, I would have loved to have been a part of it. And then you do a good job in that instance, and then next thing you know, I'm like leading the charge on Sunday morning with a speech to really fire the troops up. So yeah, my
So you haven't
mistake.
thought about that at all?
Not at all.
Not at all. Hey, Wags, man, I'm so proud and happy for you and what you've done and what you're making of this opportunity. It it brings joy to me. Brings joy to Connie, my wife. Every time she's like, "Oh, there's Johnson, there's Johnson, there's Johnson," and to think about where we were in 2023 doing that championship in Punta Cana, uh, getting a chance to work together and just become friends. Keep crushing it, man. Keep crushing it because golf needs you. sports need you, and just keep on being you, because it you bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, and that's what sports are supposed to be. So I love you for that, and keep being you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words. It's always nice being with you, Justin.
Yeah, and one of these days we'll get out and play golf here in Charlotte together.
That sounds good. We need to do that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Wags. Appreciate you.